I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine. I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Take a look back in time and recollect local history at this month's Sylvan Story presentation. Learn about Sylvan Lake's illustrious past from the lovely Helen Jane Peters as she discusses everything she can about Whitfield School's teacher and principal, Mr. Glenn Husted, and the letters he'd write to soldiers fighting in World War II. Sylvan Story. Drop by at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, November 10th at the Sylvan Lake Community Center.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine. I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, Staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to this special post-election edition of the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith, welcoming you to our live daily 5 days per week TV, radio, and streaming show. We're live from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Monday through Friday throughout the Oakland County area and across the state of Michigan. Learn more information about where you can view us in your local area on TV, listen to us on the radio, and watch and listen to us online all across the state on streaming networks at civiccentertv.com/megacast. You'll also find us on demand. Here in this post-election day today, we're going to go through some results throughout the show. We'll go through some of the top stories in just a moment here, and then we'll get to the candidates at about 10 minutes into this program and discuss their victories with several candidates from across the Oakland County area in a variety of different races. Let's begin with the big story at the top of the ticket yesterday. The incumbent Democrats taking all three positions, according to the Associated Press, as well as other local media outlets such as WDIV-TV, as well as WXYZ-TV. The biggest one, which was called first and foremost, was the re-election of Governor Gretchen Whitmer, defeating GOP challenger Tudor Dixon in about a 53 to 45% margin. That's as 85% of the statewide vote was counted in an unofficial tally as of 8:40 a.m. today, per Paul Egan at the Detroit Free Press. The Associated Press was the first to call the Whitmer race officially. Sorry, they were not the first to call. They called the Whitmer race officially at 1:20 a.m. The first to call this race, however, was Fox News on the national level. An interesting situation. It was very similar to the 2020 election when they were also called Joe Biden and his presidential win early. That was initially rejected by Tudor Dixon. She was not ready to concede at that moment in time. That was a couple of hours, or just within a couple of hours, before the Associated Press called the race for Governor Whitmer. Dixon at that time said, quote, the race is going to be too close to call, despite what Fox News thinks. She also told supporters there that they were not going to concede and they were going to continue to wait for more results to pour in. Now 85% of the vote in across the state. Governor Whitmer, a healthy lead still over Tudor Dixon. Overall, record turnout across the state of Michigan, including here in Oakland County. That's according to Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson in this article from George Hunter at the Detroit News. A record number of absentee ballots cast during Tuesday's election. And according to the Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who, by the way, was reelected in those elections, she said it went, quote, smoother, and closed quote, than anticipated. She also said there was a record of 2 million voters statewide requesting absentee ballots. 1.8 million of those 2 million that requested ballots then returned those ballots. And that was at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday evening. Of course, the deadline was 8 p.m., but those ballots are, of course, continuing to be processed and continuing to be counted after the 8 p.m. deadline, as long as they're in by that 8 p.m. posted deadline. Where they're then taken to their local precinct and in some of those cases to be processed as well. It's why you sometimes will see additional ballots being brought into certain precincts over time. In a further statement, she said, quote, we'll get a better sense of the numbers as the days unfold. And the all-time record for voter turnout for a midterm, 4.3 million votes cast. That was in 2018. Which shattered a previous record of 3.85 million in 2006. The final vote tally won't be known until sometime expected to be known today. That's according to Benson's office. In terms of disruptions, in terms of intimidation, not really something we saw here in the state of Michigan. Secretary Benson said, quote, there were no widespread or major disruptions reported to us today, and any minor issues were addressed quickly and without stopping voters from casting their ballots, and closed quote. That from Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson regarding yesterday's elections. In terms of the ballot proposals, all three of Michigan's state ballot initiatives did pass in yesterday's election. Proposal 1, which of course imposes stricter term limits or shorter term limits at the very least on state legislators instead of having 14 years to serve between the two chambers at certain variables. They now can serve upwards of 12 years in total in Lansing between two chambers. So they can go 8 and 4. They can go 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4, 4, and 4, bouncing between over the course of multiple terms, or they can spend 12 years in the Senate or in the legislature with no stoppage or in total before they are limited out of that race instead of 14 years, which was the previous number. So that was proposal 1. Also imposed some financial disclosure requirements on government officials, including the governor of the state of Michigan. There are certain exceptions to that rule that are included in the actual letter of the law that was put on your ballot on Tuesday, michigan.gov/vote, read your sample ballot, and you can go back through that to see exactly what was the verbiage on that particular proposal. Also, proposal 2, expanding voting rights here in the state of Michigan, also passing in yesterday's election with a nearly 59% support in across the state, with 76% of the statewide vote counted in that particular race, per unofficial results gathered by the Associated Press, per this article from Carol Thompson at the Detroit News, you can find on the website detroitnews.com as well. In a quote, Nancy Wang, the executive director of Voters Not Politicians, said, quote, today is a monumental day for protecting democracy in Michigan. Voters passed proposal 2 across the political spectrum. It, of course, creates a 9-day window for early person voting in the state, access to prepaid ballot postage, and the addition of a state-funded ballot tracking notification system, access to at least one state-funded ballot drop box per municipality, and one for every 15,000 registered voters in those municipalities, the ability to use a photo ID or signed affidavit to verify your voter identity, and the requirement that overseas and military ballots be counted if completed and postmarked before election day in that case. So instead of the deadline for those absentee ballots being the same as you and I going to the polls upwards of the 8 p.m. deadline and getting those ballots in by 8 p.m. on election day, those overseas in the military will be able, under this provision, to submit their ballots and have the votes counted as long as they come in having been postmarked before election day, on or before election day. Yes, that's on or before. Also, proposal 3, the big one here in the state of Michigan, arguably the most controversial and hot topic issue across the state, and really one of the biggest hot button issues across the union in this election, was abortion. And in Michigan, a record for the most signatures submitted for a constitutional amendment was previously this one, 750,000 signatures in July, and it passed last evening across the state of Michigan as well. Expanded abortion and reproductive health rights here in the state of Michigan, calling it a fundamental right to things such as, quote, prenatal care, childbirth, postpartum care, contraception, sterilization, abortion care, miscarriage management, and infertility care, and close quote. And that is according to the full language that will go into the state constitution as a result of this ballot initiative. Plenty of more news making headlines today across this election here in the Oakland County area and across the state of Michigan. But we're going to get to the candidates now. I apologize, I'm looking down so much. We are just kind of fly by the seat of our pants today with a plan, but it's a lot of information flying around. We got to keep up on it and keep you updated on this edition of the Megacast as well. A lot of this information, of course, is in and is final, but we continue to be tracking it as it comes along, and get ready to talk to a number of different candidates. We'll start off now with the winner in the Oakland County area, in the Lakes area, in the greater West Bloomfield area of the 20th congressional district here in the state of Michigan. That's for the State House of Representatives. Noah Arbit, a Democrat, won that race last night over his challenger, Albert Mansour, and joins us now on the Megacast. Before we get to Noah, I do have to provide some disclosure on this. I've known Noah for a very long time. He and I grew up together. We went to elementary through middle school together, and his twin brother Evan and I persisted going to school from kindergarten all the way through high school as well. Noah, thanks for being with us today, and congratulations on your victory in the 20th district.
Thank you, Tyler. It's so great to be with you. And yes, we have known each other for forever, it seems. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on as well. And now that you have won this position, it's I would imagine a lot easier to take that breath of fresh air and get ready to get to work as you head to Lansing to begin your term in January. But let's go back to what onset your idea to run for office here in the state of Michigan, to represent your hometown as well in the State House of Representatives. What prompted that in your head to say, you know what, I want to run for office. I want to represent the people of my hometown and the area that I grew up in at this time in our history?
Yeah, well, you recently mentioned the ballot proposals, and in 2018 we also had a series of 3 ballot proposals. One of which was Proposition 2 of 2018, which was about redistricting and making sure that Michigan had nonpartisan, independent redistricting commission to make sure that we eliminate gerrymandering in the state of Michigan. And the West Bloomfield area in particular had been gerrymandered relentlessly and partisanly for 20 years. I never aspired to run for office. It was never something I had, an ambition to do, a longstanding ambition to do, or a hankering for. But our community, I felt, was not being represented with the values that I think our community represents and shares. And we had been partisanly gerrymandered. And so I called all the local elected officials after the last election. I said, hey, we need someone good to run. And no one wanted to run. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to run. I've been in and around, sort of the political governmental space, working for Governor Whitmer at the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, in and around that space. And it just sort of came together. And, I'm very grateful and gratified, and would love to thank, all those who voted for me, and even those who didn't. I look forward to representing you and your interests with faith and fidelity in the state legislature. And as you mentioned, to represent my hometown, it is just, it is so meaningful and such a profound honor. And I'm very humbled by the trust that the people of West Bloomfield, Commerce, and the Lakes have put in me to represent them. So.
We're joined by Noah Arbit, a Democrat who was elected on election day to the Michigan House of Representatives in the 20th district. That's in the greater West Bloomfield area and the Lakes area as well, representing parts of all 4 of our communities for our flagship here at Civic Center TV. And Noah, what was one of the hallmarks of yesterday, of this particular election cycle, was the involvement of young people during the primaries, certainly getting behind these ballot initiatives and even running for office in Michigan and across the union. We saw in Ann Arbor and in East Lansing and our college towns, people on campus, students waiting for several hours throughout the night to get their same day registration and to vote, persisting all throughout the night. And just shows the impact that young people are having in our electorate today. And so for you, being in your 20s, being one of the younger members of our State House of Representatives now, speak to that involvement of young people in politics today, and how our generation now is in a position to start to turn the tide of leadership in our state of Michigan, certainly in our local area, and make some meaningful changes that not only help the generations before us, but will help our generation and those after.
That's exactly right. And, I will be the youngest person to ever represent this community in the state legislature by far. I think it takes all kinds, to represent and to make government work for people. And the voices of young people, just as, voices of, all different types of communities are so important. That representation is so important. I think about, our economy. I think about how, the young people right now emerging in today's economy is so different and new. And the variables that they confront are so new and different than the variables, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And so to have, if we're not paying attention to that and making policy that is addressing that and addressing how, the job market works, the labor market works, all of that, today, then we're having a serious blind spot in our economic policy. And so if we want to make sure that Michigan is a place where everyone has, the rights and opportunities to go as far as their talents and ambitions will take them, to make sure that it's a place where, every child, is raised believing that there are no constraints, no limits on what they can achieve. And I think we need, a legislature and a government that looks like our people in Michigan. And so I'm really excited to, get into the legislature and start crafting policy, bold, forward-thinking, innovative, common sense policies that are going to advance, our state and our interests for everyone. And I think that is not a partisan issue. Advocating for young people just as much as we would for older people. I want to build a Michigan that cares about how we raise our kids, but also about how we treat our seniors. And I think all of that can be done. And I think one of the really exciting things about this is that we do have so many diverse voices coming in, and for the first time in 40 years, we have a Democratic majority in both chambers of the legislature, and the diversity of voices that's going to allow for, because we haven't had it for 40 years, is going to be something that is quite interesting and fascinating to behold. It really is unprecedented, and there is no playbook for it. But I'm excited to see what happens, and looking forward to representing West Bloomfield in part of those conversations, and really making sure that our community has a strong voice, put really on the map in Lansing. So I'm very excited about it.
Noah, we appreciate you joining us, especially on the short notice. Certainly an exciting time for you and a busy time for you as you've now been elected to state Congress. And so appreciate you joining us, giving us some insight. We'll definitely keep updated with you on all of our programming here at Civic Center TV, certainly across the Oakland County area here on the Megacast as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tyler. Great to see you.
Appreciate it, and good to see you as well. Noah Arbit, representing now, elected to represent now, and will begin in January, representing the 20th district in the state of Michigan in the Michigan House of Representatives. Noah defeating Albert Mansour in that race last night. Final tally according to unofficial results from Oakland County. And just again, we've spoken about this previously, but it's worthwhile to explain what unofficial results mean. Just so that there is no confusion on it. Unofficial results do not mean that this is up for question necessarily. Certainly it can be questioned. Certainly the vote tallies can be deliberated on, and that will happen at the Oakland County Board of Canvassers and then at the State Board of Canvassers as they certify these elections. Now, unofficial results are basically just the raw tallies that come in from all the precincts in the local area, in your local area, regarding your local elections and statewide and federally as well. And until they are certified by local, state, and federal boards of canvassers and by Congress in the presidential election, as we saw in 2020, those results are not official until then. They remain unofficial. But the unofficial tally in the 20th district, Noah Arbit defeating Republican Albert Mansour by a 27,825 to 21,302 vote here in Oakland County. And appreciate him being on with us today. Plenty of more candidates coming up as we go through this hour of our program today. And now we can continue on as we are being joined. We'll go from the state Congress to very, very local here in our flagship area of the greater West Bloomfield area for Civic Center TV, which is our main outlet here on the Megacast, our originating outlet, and be joined by one of our two new West Bloomfield School District Board of Education trustees. WM Art Holdsworth joins us now on the Megacast. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So, of course, Mr. Holdsworth, along with Ashley Davis, the two winners in that race here in West Bloomfield, are now going to be joining the West Bloomfield School District Board of Education. And for you, sir, as you begin this run, let's take a step back with you as well as we've done with our previous interviews here today. And just what prompted you to want to get involved in your local school district, run for your school board, and really set up the present and establish the future of education in West Bloomfield?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. I retired from Oakland County about a year ago. I was the Deputy Director for Management and Budget and the Director for Facilities Management. I was at the county for 18 years. And I worked with elected officials and the Board of Commissioners that entire time. So I knew that dealing with the sort of issues that the school board, the school district has to deal with, the large amount of facilities and grounds and security issues that they have to deal with. I was very confident that that's the sort of thing that I'd be able to do very well. But probably most importantly, my youngest daughter just started at the high school this year. And, I do worry about the safety of her and all of our other students. And I wanted to make sure of two things. One is that she was safe and all the other students were safe, and that she's getting the best education that she possibly can. My family moved here to West Bloomfield 13, 14 years ago, purposely for the school district. Our oldest daughter went through the school district from pre-K all the way through until graduation, and she's doing very well for herself now. And I want that for my youngest daughter and all the other students as well. And that, in a nutshell, is why I decided to run for the board.
Keep up to date on everything that's going on in terms of business with the West Bloomfield School District Board of Education, what they're working on, information about their study sessions, as well as their monthly regular meetings at the I Center, or as many may call it, traditionally the library at West Bloomfield High School, by visiting wbsd.org. Joining us on today's program is W.M. Art Holdsworth, who is one of the two victors in the local race for the West Bloomfield School District Board of Education. Several candidates on the ballot, as well as qualified write-in candidates, and two victors finally in that race, Ashley Davis, as well as W.M. Art Holdsworth, joining us on this edition of the Megacast. You mentioned school security as being one of your hallmark and benchmark issues as you joined the school board. What are some of your other priorities as well that you'd like to work with the current school board, returning members, and of course the greater West Bloomfield community as you take on this leadership role?
Well, first up, I wanted to congratulate Ashley on her great victory last night, and I'm really looking forward to working with her on the board and the other board members. I've been attending the board meetings regularly, their strategic planning session last spring. A lot of really good people, both on the board and in our school district. And I'm sure you're aware of a lot of the, what I'll call culture war issues that are out there. I'm not going to get into any of that stuff, but I wanted to make sure that our teachers feel that they're respected and know that we value what they do every day. I want to make sure that we're able to retain our teachers for the long haul. And when we're recruiting new teachers, I want them to feel like it's a career, a place that they can stay for their entire career. I also want to make sure that our students of all cultures, religions, backgrounds, races, identities, feel welcomed in our community. The diversity here in West Bloomfield is outstanding. It's one of our greatest strengths. And I want to make sure that we're valuing that and making sure that everybody feels welcomed, that our staff and our academic materials and everything are emphasizing that they are welcomed and valued as young people. And if they do feel welcomed and comfortable and part of a educational community, that's going to improve their academic performance.
Lastly, before we let you go, I want to take a couple minutes because this is an important issue, especially in the city of Keagle Harbor. Many of the residents in the city of Keagle Harbor are concerned about the future of Roosevelt School. It's been a hallmark in that community for well over 100 years. Some building issues before this school year began caused students to be moved by the school district to the former Abbott Middle School facility at Orchard Lake Road and Commerce, there in between really three of the four communities here in the greater West Bloomfield area. In terms of working with the community and working with the school district to find solutions in the future of Roosevelt, where do you stand, or can you at least touch on what you plan to do in terms of communicating with the community and determining what is the best future for that facility and for education in that area of Keagle Harbor?
Well, the education, of course, of the students up in the Keagle, Sylvan area is equally as important as any other student from any other part of West Bloomfield. And we're going to do our best to make sure that their academic performance, which has to include the facility and the grounds where they go to school, are top-notch. I've been a trustee-elect for about 11 hours now. I have had several conversations with people about the facility, and I've read the facility report from this summer about the damage to the building. And there's a lot of issues that have to be taken into consideration for the future of that building. But I can, reading the tea leaves, I can almost guarantee that that building in one way, shape, or form is always going to be there. Okay. There's always going to be a school, an elementary school in that area. And I'm going to do my best to take everything into consideration, work with the board to make the best best decision possible for everybody concerned. And I'm going to diligently prepare to help make those decisions. But I want to assure the people of Keego Harbor that they don't have anything to worry about. They're going to be happy with the final decision, and their students, above all, are going to get a great education.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Mr. Holdsworth. Thanks for being on the program today. And of course, congratulations on your election to the West Bloomfield School District Board of Education.
Thank you very much. And I know you're going to be talking with Ashley soon, and I'll be watching as well to see all the good things that she has to say. And I thank you very much for this time this morning.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time as well. We have reached out to Ashley Davis. We have been in contact. There's some scheduled conflicts for today, but we will work on getting her on either this program or on the more Greater West Bloomfield specific program from our flagship at Civic Center TV, The Splash Live, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 10 a.m., preceding us across parts of our network. You can find more information and more election results from in the Greater West Bloomfield community and across Oakland County in our coverage area by going to either our Facebook page, facebook.com/Civic Center TV 15, or go to our Twitter page, twitter.com/Civic Center TV. Results from all throughout last evening. We were on top of that as those results came in, and from both Oakland County official results, the Associated Press as well, and other local outlets, TV, radio, and other journalistic outlets as well, to make sure we kept you updated about your specific communities here in those races that you had your eyes on here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. Well, we have plenty of more coming up here, and in just a little bit, we'll have Dave Dulio from Oakland University join us for his regular time with us each and every Wednesday near the bottom of this program today to talk about the more widespread issues, but we're going to continue to keep it local right here in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast, and be joined now by another winner of a position in the Oakland County area. In this case, a re-election for Kristen Nelson to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. In this case, changing districts after redistricting, now the county commissioner representing the 10th district. Kristen, thank you for being with us once again.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday, a long election day, a long election week here across the community and around the state, as we have some new paradigms in the way that we operate our elections, but still things moving nice and smoothly, and the people having their voice heard. In Oakland County, the Board of Commissioners, kind of a new wave of Democratic leadership continuing in Oakland County, as we've seen be kind of characteristic of this community over the last couple of elections, last few elections, as that trend continues in this election. But there's still plenty of issues to really address here in Oakland County. Let's begin with what was on the ballot, down ballot for the voters here in Oakland County, and that was the transportation millage, and just how big of an impact that can have in areas of the county that either lack access to public transportation or really just needed that public transportation to persist in order to continue to serve members of the community in a number of different facets.
Sure, you got that right. This is a huge, huge win here in Oakland County, finally getting transit on the ballot and having it pass. I think it goes without saying that while this issue brought, many opposing views, voters across Oakland County made it very clear that they support accessible and reliable transportation, and that it's a critical necessity here in Oakland County. It's just incredible to have it pass, and I'm so excited to move forward with looking at expanding our transit, as well as increasing opportunities for all individuals to be able to travel throughout our county, whether that's leisure, whether that's healthcare, whether that's getting to jobs and getting to school. I am so excited and happy that the voters here in Oakland County have placed a value on transit. It's significant.
Yeah, and it is. And as you mentioned, there's plenty of opposition to this, voices being heard well before Election Day on this issue at Oakland County Board of Commissioners meetings and throughout the community in a number of different outlets and all the usual spaces you see community fodder on a number of different issues. And in terms of those communities that would argue that, well, we don't really need this access to this particular transportation, we opted out of this for a reason. How do you and others in leadership positions, how would you personally respond to that, and the ways that, or at least how would you communicate ways that you and other leaders in Oakland County can work with these communities that had previously been opted out to initialize this new age of transportation in Oakland County in a way that is best for that community and their specific needs as well?
Sure. First and foremost, I want to say that a Swiss cheese model of mass transit, it doesn't work. We need to make sure that all residents across our county are traveling and can travel to other areas within the county, whether that's north, whether that's south. So first and foremost, it is significant to emphasize that a whole transportation system is not going to benefit people. I'm going to be honest with you, Tyler, I don't have answers right now, but I am eager and I am excited to sit at the table with our communities across Oakland County and learn how we can make sure that this transit system is going to be something that benefits their communities. And at the end of the day, while, some people might not find value and utilize public transit, I always fall back on, when you do better, I do better. And it's so important. And I will always continue to support connecting people and connecting our communities across Oakland County together. And I look forward as we run and jump into 2023 to learn more about how we can better assist those communities that have shown that opposition.
332,410 residents of Oakland County as of 9:32 this morning voting affirmatively on that millage renewal. 97.46% of precincts in Oakland County on that particular issue are reporting at this time. The total as it currently stands, 57.25% yes, 42.75% no. Kristen Nelson's with us on the Megacast today, representing the 10th district in the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, reelected to the board for another term. Kristen, we have a few more minutes with you. What are some of your other additional goals as you continue to serve here in Oakland County and into your next term?
Sure, absolutely. I first want to say not only am I honored to continue representing residents in District 10, which previously, as you shared at the beginning, did switch from District 5 to District 10. I'm so excited to continue working on projects that give people the tools to increase their happiness and their likelihood that they remain here in Oakland County. I'm super excited to move full steam forward on our senior initiatives. It's so important that as we move forward into the future, that we still are protecting our most vulnerable residents and looking at ways that we can increase access to services, whether that's transportation, our senior centers, making sure that we're providing seniors with the appropriate outlets to gain access to information, start closing the gap on that digital divide. I'm also really eager to move forward engaging in those conversations with communities in regards to transit and looking at how we can make sure that this truly is a win-win for everyone, despite where they fall presently. I'm also really excited to move forward with looking at the ways that we can continue making sure that we're keeping our water clean, supporting small businesses, and overall just listening to what the residents in District 10 want. I'm a firm believer of getting out there and listening to what people want, seeing what people would like, as we move forward in Oakland County. But overall, Tyler, I am so excited to say that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners is going to continue to move forward with doing what's best for people and investing in our climate change, investing in environmental sustainability, investing in people and working families. So I'm just so excited to continue working on a lot of the issues that we've been working on over the course of the past 4 years. And I'm really eager to begin learning more about what people want as we move forward into the future.
Well, Kristen, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning, especially on that short notice, given the election being yesterday, to be with us on the program and reintroduce yourself to the parts of the community that you're now representing, and of course, say hello and welcome yourself back as well to those who you continue to represent here in Oakland County.
Well, you are amazing, Tyler. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful opportunity, so thank you.
Appreciate it. Kristen Nelson, representing Oakland County's 10th District and the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, winning with 100% of precincts reporting in this position in Oakland County by 56.20% to 43.69% margin, with 0.11%, 34 total votes going to unassigned write-ins in this particular race. We will take a break here on the Megacast. Before we go to that break, of course, we've had a couple of Democrats on today's edition of the program, a nonpartisan candidate as well. We have reached out to an equal number of candidates who have won and others who have not on both sides of the aisle. Just kind of how the schedule shook out. We'll continue to reach out to members of our leadership across the state and across local positions all across the board going forward. Today just happened to be the way things shook out in our schedule. We'll take a break. We'll kind of get a bird's eye view of politics here in the state of Michigan and the impact of this election nationally across the U.S. with Dave Dulio from Oakland University coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Take a look back in time and recollect local history at this month's Sylvan Story presentation. Learn about Sylvan Lake's illustrious past from the lovely Helen Jane Peters as she discusses everything she can about Whitfield School's teacher and principal, Mr. Glenn Husted, and the letters he'd write to soldiers fighting in World War II. Sylvan Story. Drop by at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, November 10th at the Sylvan Lake Community Center.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Keith, a special election recap program here today. On our program, you can watch it all back on demand, civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as our interviews with many of the victorious candidates from across Oakland County in a number of different positions, locally, countywide, and statewide as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Now we'll expand out a little bit further. We'll talk about Oakland County, we'll talk about the state of Michigan, but also about the national impact of this election with Dave Dulio from Oakland University. He is a professor of political science and the director of their Center for Civic Engagement. Dave, a really interesting election that we had last night that really sent a few very clear messages about where we're at in our politics right now in the U.S., but also a clear message too about who is in a power position in terms of demographics across the union politically, not only in Michigan, but all of the United States.
Yeah, Tyler, I think that and good to see you again. Nice to be with you. I think, we can look across the country for examples of unexpected results, and unexpected only because history was a good guide for us in midterm elections, frankly, until this one. There are a number of instances where we thought we'd see one thing and we see another. Even to the point you make about demographics, I think we can look to the state of Florida for some of that, and the successes that a candidate like Ron DeSantis had in getting reelected as governor down there, where he did really well in places that Republicans don't usually do well. So that's a surprise, I think. But more broadly, it's a surprise to see that Republicans struggle with many races that they appeared to be in good position to win, or they simply fumbled and didn't deliver.
Yeah, we heard so much going into this election about a red wave in certain states, but even across the union, about a number of Republican candidates taking back some of these positions of power, taking back entire chambers of either the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House, retaining those chambers or flipping them in certain states that may have been blue, may have been purple, or maintaining them in red states. And that across the board, that did happen in some situations, but really we saw quite the surge from Democrats. But it's interesting too, because you said, like you said, past elections were sort of that reference leading up to this point for where we were at. And given the state of the economy, certainly inflation and what we've seen over the last several months and year, you would think that this election would be much more of a referendum on the Biden administration than it ended up being. So what do you believe was really that key factor in pushing this election the way that it went? Was it a referendum on Biden, a referendum on Trump republicanism, or really a power grab for the future by the electorate that is concerned in a number of different facets?
I think it depends where in the country we're talking, because I think Michigan stands out a little differently than other places. I think let's start broad and can then come back to Michigan. I think nationally, the biggest takeaway that I have is candidates matter. And we see instances where Republicans underperformed in U.S. Senate and U.S. House races. Now, having said that, right, they are still likely to take, if not guaranteed by this point, but very likely that Republicans will be in the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, and they still have a fairly good shot at taking control of the U.S. Senate, but by much smaller margins than, frankly, they should have in a year where the president's job approval is in the low 40s. The president who is opposite their party, right? The president's job approval is in the low 40s. Inflation is at a 40-year high. Gas prices are much higher than in just a year or 2 years ago. And you've got this environment that is ripe for Republicans, and they didn't deliver in many reasons, for many ways, because they nominated candidates who couldn't convince enough voters to vote for them. And I'm looking at Pennsylvania. I'm looking at Georgia. We'll see what happens out in Nevada and Arizona, but Arizona is another one that looks iffy. And even in some House races, to bring it back here to Michigan, John Gibbs in Michigan's 3rd congressional district wasn't going to win that race against Hillary Scholten after he won the primary. I think here in Michigan, though, it's a little different scenario. I think the importance of the abortion issue really runs through the results here in Michigan, and I think we see that because of the broad support for Democrats and their ability to not only fend off good challenges from Republicans, but dominate in certain other races, including at the top of the ticket. And I think that issue of abortion certainly was on the ballot, literally on the ballot, but also was such a central factor in Gretchen Whitmer's campaign against Tudor Dixon.
Yeah, over 2.3 million Michiganders voting affirmatively on Proposal 3 for reproductive freedom and abortion here in the state of Michigan. 56% yes to 44% no, with 97% of precincts reporting across the state in that particular issue. We're joined by Dave Dulio on the Megacast. He's a professor of political science at Oakland University, where he also serves as the director for their Center for Civic Engagement on our program today. And back in Michigan, we'll come back to Michigan briefly and then go back to some more national implications of this election. We saw really a huge impact of young people in this election and of of same-day registration and absentee ballots continuing to have a major impact following the 2018 ballot initiative that made those legal in the state of Michigan. Most notably, we look at the college towns, Ann Arbor and East Lansing, especially being two communities where we saw people lined up at 8:00 p.m. The polls closed, and several hours later, even into the wee hours of the morning today, still in line, still waiting to vote. How does that speak to the future of the electorate here in Michigan and the way that our elections are A, going to be operated, but B, what we see in the results over these past couple elections where same-day registration, where absentee ballots especially have had a major impact in Michigan and across the union?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this translates in 24, right? And whether or not those same voters become habitual voters, or were they teased out to vote by a particular issue, right? And since we've talked about college campuses, you wonder if it was the issue of abortion, something that is really on the minds of unmarried individuals in Michigan. And not to say that married folks don't care about that issue, they certainly do, but I think we see unmarried folks, especially unmarried women, go much more for Democrats in this election than for Republicans. I think that it's interesting to note that in both Ann Arbor and in East Lansing, there were satellite polling locations for students. And if that continues, you might see more college kids continue to vote. But I would also point to 2018 as a really good year for young people engagement. And it's no coincidence that there was a ballot proposition that drew them out in that election year as well, and that's recreational marijuana. And that had produced big turnout in East Lansing and in Ann Arbor.
We're joined by Dave Dulio from Oakland University on today's edition of the Megacast. You can keep up to date with everything happening at the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University by going to oakland.edu/CCE, oakland.edu/CCE. And what seems to be a common theme over the last 6 years plus here in the U.S., when we have an election or we get through another election cycle, everything seems to circle back to how does this impact Donald Trump. We look toward 2024 now, especially that race in Florida for governor. Ron DeSantis winning, but there's been a lot of teasing lately about a potential 2024 presidential run for him on the Republican side and potentially challenging Donald Trump. Some struggle, as you said, candidates matter, with some of the Trump Republicans losing key elections across the U.S. and certainly the competition that we continue to see in key states like Georgia for Trump Republican like Herschel Walker versus the incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock. What does this election mean for Donald Trump, both because of the way that voters turned out for certain issues and against certain kinds and certain candidates in this election, but also with the not necessarily resurgence, but the really, let's just say a surge in this case for people like Ron DeSantis now willing to challenge Trump and also offer a similar candidate, but an alternative to Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think Ron DeSantis had the best night of any Republican last night. I think, he really stormed to a commanding win in a critically important general election state in a presidential election. And I think Trump had a bad night. There's no getting around it. If you mentioned Georgia and Herschel Walker, he ran 4 or 5 points behind the gubernatorial candidate there, Mr. Kemp, and Kemp is somebody who Trump has feuded with in the past. Of course, he came in and endorsed him the day before the election, but he's feuded with Kemp in the past. And Herschel Walker is his hand-picked Senate candidate, and so Trump is a drag on many of those candidates. And I think you could say the same thing in Pennsylvania about Trump's hand-picked candidates there, the Senate candidate, Dr. Oz, and the gubernatorial candidate in Pennsylvania. So I think that this sets up a really interesting battle between DeSantis and Trump for the way forward in the Republican Party.
Joined by Dave Doolittle on today's edition of the Megacast. Again, you can get in contact with the Center for Civic Engagement and engage with them as well in a number of political conversations as we now transition from the 2022 midterm election cycle and quite immediately goes right on to 2024. Oakland.edu/CCE. Oakland.edu/CCE for more information. I hate to just jump immediately from one election to the next and just say, okay, well, this is behind us now. It's because it's not entirely there yet. But as we get ready for 2022, are there any plans in the works at this time or in the near future for discussions at the Center for Civic Engagement to get people ready for what's certainly going to be another very interesting, very competitive, and I would imagine in some cases quite contentious 2024 presidential race across the political spectrum?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And the first one is tonight. So we're going to do a post-mortem on 2022. I'll be joined by two of the best political analysts in Michigan who also happen to be political consultants. They are in the fray of politics and have been for many years. John Selleck, a Republican, and Adrian Heeman from a Democrat from grassroots Midwest. John Selleck has got a firm called Harbor Strategies, and we'll be on Zoom tonight at 7 p.m. Talking about the election day yesterday and probably looking ahead to 2024 as well.
Oakland.edu/CCE to view that and to participate in other events with the Center for Civic Engagement. Got a couple more minutes with you, Dave, before we'll say goodbye today and wrap this thing up. Any other lasting impressions or thoughts from this 2022 midterm here in the state of Michigan and even nationally as we are mostly done with this current election cycle?
Yeah, I think it's time now to put the campaigning hat away and turn on and put on the governing hat. And I think that there are interesting diversions in, or we will diverge in Michigan and the country in how we go about this. And of course, with Democrats in control of the governor's mansion as well as both chambers of the state house and state senate, Democrats can do just about anything they want here in Michigan if they can keep their caucuses together in the state house and state senate to pass legislation. I would imagine that Governor Whitmer and the legislative leaders on the Democratic side are making a wish list as we speak for what they would like to see in the legislative agenda in the next year. That's very different at the federal level when we've got Republicans, as I said before, very likely to take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. That's really going to put the brakes on any kind of Biden agenda in 2023.
And will certainly have an impact, too, over the next year on his viability for a 2024 re-election campaign, potentially, as well as his competition against what will likely also be another competitive Republican field. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time, as always.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Oakland.edu/CCE for more information and engage in events with the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. That does it for our election coverage here on the Megacast today. As always, you can join us live 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday for more programming throughout the week. Find us on demand, civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as information on all of our partnering stations. And of course, a huge thank you to our dedicated crew, Calvin Brown and Jared Clark at Master Control at My Michigan TV. And of course, you for joining us on this program today. That's it for this edition of the Megacast. We'll return soon with a new episode.
This is My Michigan TV. Around here, we just call it My.